Record. Then we'll go screen share. All right. Hello, and welcome to our webinar, How to Be Happy at Work. It's Not What You Think. My name is Jason Sanders. I'm founder of Flycast Executive Recruiting and Linked Coach. And we provide online and live training and coaching to individuals that use LinkedIn for business networking and for job changing. Just to give you an idea, some of our courses include, these are Udemy courses. You can find them there. I'll tell you where in just a second. LinkedIn for Job Seekers, which is a basic course on creating your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn Network and Win, and that is a course that's focused on networking for people looking for new positions and opportunities. And then LinkedIn Hacks, Tips, and Tricks, which is just what it says. It's a conglomeration of different things that you can use on LinkedIn that you may not know about as a normal user. Now, if you'd like to learn more about these courses, you can go to udemy.com and just search under my name, Jason Sanders, and you will find all three of them there. Now, we're going to get to the content and to our speaker in just a second, but I want to make sure that you stay tuned to the end because there's some really cool stuff that's coming up. First of all, you're going to get a coupon code for the courses that I just went through. We're going to have a raffle, so somebody is going to win a free course. And then we're going to have a couple of amazing offers that are about getting in touch. Well, I won't tell you what the amazing offers are. Why don't you wait and see what the amazing offers are. I'm going to introduce our speaker in just a second, but just a couple of quick housekeeping items. If you use the Q&A, which should be at the bottom of your screen throughout the session, then either I'll throw the questions out to Gina in the course of the session, or we'll just wait and hold on to them at the end. But don't feel like you need to hold back. You can throw those questions up anytime you'd like. And you should know that the session is being recorded. So with that, I'd like to introduce, we'll get to that at the end. With that, let me introduce Gina. Gina Calvano is a certified coach, facilitator of the Passion Test, senior professional at Human Resources. She combines the strategic corporate expertise and the accreditations with transformational thinking tools that's resulted in people all over the world feeling good about themselves and connected to a sense of purpose. And I have to say that I don't see very many HR professionals that also get into the field of human potential and then bring them together. So that's really something that's special about Gina, and you'll hear about that through this session. She created the Discover Your Life Calling Bootcamp. It's a step-by-step process that enables people to easily discover their unique talents and abilities and match them to majors, to jobs, to industries, and to leisure pursuits. Gina is the co-author of Powerful Connections Made Easy. Amazing that you have. That's the bestseller, isn't it, Gina?
No, that's not the bestseller.
Not the best. Okay, so well, she's got more than two books. She's got a best-selling book too, which I don't have listed here. But she's currently working on a new book called Caged in My Cube: Unleashing the Powerful Work You Were Born to Do Despite the Job You Hate. I am going to take the screen share off because we don't need it anymore, and we'll just be able to talk here like this. We'll see how that works out. In any case, welcome, Gina. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm happy to have you here. We've got, the way that we're going to be doing this for our attendees is we've got, it's going to be just sort of a Q&A. We're just going to go back and forth and talk a bit about some of the work that Gina does. And, you know, we're obviously both interested in work and in job changing. So one question for you, Gina, is, you know, we can tell when somebody isn't happy at work. But there are a couple of things. One is you could change that situation by changing your job. But there are a lot of people that also find themselves on a path to burnout, and they may not know how to tell the difference between the two. How would you advise somebody to kind of get in touch with that?
Right. That's great. Well, first of all, you said one of the ways you could deal with that is to switch jobs. Maybe. My feeling is everywhere you go, there you are. So it really comes down to how can you tell if you're really in a situation where what you really are ready for is to offer something more than your current work environment or job expects of you, and you're just ready to do that. So maybe a switch is the best solution. But how can you be sure that that's what's going on and that you're not running from something,
Right.
running towards something versus away from something? And that's really important to be clear about. And I always share with people, I am so interested in reading. I read and read and read about a lot about the latest studies around job burnout and what goes on with burnout. And burnout can follow a pretty predictable pattern, what it originates from and what it evolves into. So if you really want to get a handle about, is it me or is it really time to move on, the three biggest predictors of whether or not you're on a path to burnout, there are three things. And one of them, the first and foremost one that we can all relate to, is exhaustion. And that is mental exhaustion as well as physical exhaustion. Now, we all go through periods of feeling exhausted, especially if we're going through a pretty demanding time at work.
Oh, that's never happened to me, Gina.
I know, never, right? Not in America, right?
Yeah, right.
But if it's the norm for you. Like lately, it doesn't matter what I do. Like it just seems to, that feeling of pep and feeling rested just seems to fizzle out fast. Studies also show that when it comes to vacations, that vacations typically have a lasting impact in terms of recharging you for about 2.5 weeks.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, and that's a 1 to 2 week vacation time frame. So it really can fizzle out fast. And if you can relate to that, then maybe exhaustion is something you want to see as potentially being a little more chronic than just a period or a blip that you're going through. The second thing is cynicism. So if you're quick with the wit, quick with the sarcastic joke or pun about the place, the job, the customers, the boss, right? Who makes fun of their boss? Nobody, right?
Yeah. We've all heard this.
Yeah, can be a big sign that there's something more going on. And the third is inefficacy, which is powerlessness. So it feels like no matter what it is you have to or try to get done, the clarity of seeing what you need to be done is not the problem. It's that you just feel like you can't get there. We all have nightmares where we're running and running and we can't get to where we're going. Well, it's kind of like that in real life, that no matter what I do, I just feel like the ability to actually accomplish what I want to accomplish seems outside my control. So those are three things. And if you relate to any of those three signs, then at the very least, that absolutely is a sign that your fulfillment tank is probably pretty low. And that affects how you come across to others. So no matter how well you think you're hiding it, the truth is you're not. We can all sense another's, what I call their fulfillment wellness, even without talking to them. You just see them coming down the hall and you can just get a sense of it, or at least get in touch with your story about them. But usually we're not right. We're all not wrong. We're all intuitive beings, and we can sense what is probably going on for another.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do like a quick little visual exercise with people if they're open to it. Is it okay if I share a quick little exercise?
Yeah, absolutely. We won't know if they are or not.
No,
we'll just have to go under the assumption that everyone's going to participate.
It's really simple. I just helped, to prove this point that we can all sense each other's fulfillment wellness. I want you to just take a moment and imagine anybody in your career that you worked with now or in the past that you really felt they were particularly tough to take. They were just tough to work with or tough to be around. There was something in their demeanor, their attitude, or their disposition that just made them not pleasant to be around. So think of that person. And now I want you to think of somebody who was wonderful to work with. Maybe you even ended up becoming friends with them, or they became a mentor to you. Doesn't have to be in the same place of employment as the person that really was a drain to work with. But just think of these two opposite extremes and imagine what I call a scale, a fulfillment scale, where somebody who's maybe fulfilled at a 1 is that person who was difficult to work with, and the person who was wonderful to work with, just such a pleasure to be in their company. You felt like you got a lot, you learned a lot. Imagine them being at a 10 on your scale. Now you've got these two people in mind. I just want you to think about how exhausted, cynical, or powerless did you sense the person who was a 1 to be? And think about the person who's on the 10, who's at the 10. How exhausted, cynical, or powerless did you assess them to be?
Mm-hmm.
You probably thought of them more as energetic and able to accomplish things and get things done and confident and a more peace-giving individual or an energy-bringing individual than somebody who killed it all with cynicism, tried to see the bright side of things, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
So you get this scale. So now imagine where you are on this scale.
Right.
How you're feeling right now today.
I'm a 10.
Of course you are. But it gives you, where you can see yourself on the scale now that you've got this visual of these two people, this curmudgeon and this, wonderful person. That's how you're not hiding it. Where you see yourself to be, you're probably closer to looking like the 1 or looking like the 10 to people as you enter the meeting room or walk down the hall, or we can't hide it. Is my point.
Yeah, no, it's a great example. So let's say you're the 1, or let's say you're a 3. How do you get a sense of fulfillment from the work if you're just not happy at the place where you are, or at least, find yourself in a situation where it's not draining you completely?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing that I say is, first of all, you can't expect to get a sense of fulfillment from your job. Your job is an external factor. That is what you do for other people. It's the how you do what you do for other people. Now, I know that, we all have individuals that drain us. We all have work situations or environments that don't feel like the best fit or match. But the fact is, that's where we're at, right? And I think that wherever you're at is a perfect opportunity to start taking control of your sense of fulfillment. Because if you're not fulfilled, if you don't have a filled up fulfillment tank, you can't absorb sustainable fulfillment from external sources. It's like a dried up sponge that instead of soaking up fluid, just kind of disintegrates when you touch it. It just has no more capacity, okay? It can't take in anything from the external. So things like work and relationships, material things, money, that stuff alone can't sustain your fulfillment, even if you enjoy those things. It's like being in a fire in a cold room, like you're standing around a fire in a cold room. Once the fire goes out, you immediately feel the cold of the room around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not enough.
Yeah.
So to get this sustainable sense of fulfillment, I think that there are 3 things that you can take, 3 steps that you can take. The easiest way.
This is where we should take notes, right?
Yes, I would suggest it if you want to. If you relate.
This is the spot, I think.
Here's your 3 things.
Yeah.
So the easiest way, this is super simple, to sustainably fulfill your energy tank is to decide 5 things that you're going to focus on just to generate joy in your life. And that's very different than seeking joy from other people or other situations. So this is what you're going to do to generate it on your own. Doesn't matter where you are, okay?
So in other words, if I like going to comedy clubs, I'm going to focus on going to comedy clubs and enjoying myself there, as opposed to waiting for somebody to do something nice for me at work, like bring me a cup of coffee or whatever it happens to be. That's not what I'm going to look at.
Exactly. And not only that, you're not going to wait for your wife to say, hey, I'm going to get us tickets to this thing, or you're going to take charge of it.
Right.
And you're going to decide, what does that look like, to make sure that laughing and having fun and seeing comedians is a regular part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So part of being on a path to burnout that has to do with giving your energy away. So connecting with 5 things that bring you joy is the easiest thing to take control back of, because you enjoy it, right? And it's
Sure.
not something that feels like a chore, okay? So why 5 things? A lot of times people ask me why. Why 5 things? Well, there's 2 reasons. One is, many of us have heard of that book's Built to Last, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the authors of that book also wrote Success Built to Last, Creating a Life That Matters. And in that book, they interviewed over 200 people who claimed to have achieved enduring success for over 20 years. So this is a sustainable feeling of success in their life. And what they found is that these enduringly successful people developed a habit of always choosing in favor of things that had deep personal meaning for them. And they did it no matter what anybody else thought about their decisions. So that's pretty liberating, right? I mean, what difference in your life to be free of what others thought about your decisions, right?
Yes.
Right. So it was 5 things. They focused just on 5 things that no matter what, they knew these things had meaning to them, that brought them joy, they brought them happiness. And whenever they had the opportunity to choose in favor of them, they did. And they didn't suffer guilt around that or anything. So the truth is that narrowing your focus to 5 things that work well in your life, not 5 things you want to do better, which is what corporate always conditions us, right? What do you want to improve upon?
Right.
Now, I don't want to improve upon nothing. This is already good in my life. I just want more of it. That enables you to exponentially have more joy, more than you can predict or imagine. And I know that this is true because I experienced it, back before I was connected to all these transformational thinking principles and, ways of tapping into my human potential. One of my corporate jobs, I worked in a very, very large financial services firm. And this is when I was an employee relations specialist. So it was all about getting people to improve their performance or managing people who had poor performance to hopefully rehabilitate or unfortunately let them go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had these employee opinion surveys, right? A lot of companies have them now, 33 warm and fuzzy questions about, do you like us? Do you like working here? Would you refer a friend? Would your boss say hello to you? Like really trying to get their finger on the pulse of how are people feeling about being here every day. And of course, me being me, I would be assigned to the groups that had the worst scores.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. It was threats of unionization. It was hostile environments. And I would come in, and at that time, the company CEO also made a decision that he was now going to tie corporate executive bonuses to improving these scores. So I had 7 executives that were just at their wits' end. They were nervous. Now their compensation, their reputation is on rehabilitating people who are very unhappy, and many of whom they inherited this group of people. So when we would get these scores would be divvied up into, like a traffic light, red, yellow, and green scores. And the yellow scores meant that you were scoring, your satisfaction scores were around the company average. And green is where you were doing better than the company average. We didn't have much green. And
not your groups.
Not my group.
To start, I'm sure.
No, not to start. And the red was you're obviously below. So the executives would tell me what they did. And what do you think they focused on?
Red,
right? Because the red is wah, wah, wah. Look, danger, danger, not working. So I would tell them, you know what? We're not going to try to tell people they're wrong. Because by focusing on the red, what we're in essence communicating to employees is you're wrong about how you feel. And we're not going to tell them they're wrong. Instead, we're going to focus on what they say they're pretty okay about. So since we really didn't have any green, we focused on the yellow. And what we did was we took the yellow, and I got the executives to agree on what 5 things would you just enjoy putting a lot more time, effort, energy, and resources around making even better around here. And they would collectively agree on the 5, and then we would go to the employees and say, which of these 3 things, your 5 things, tell us 3 things that you would really just be jazzed if these things were functioning on a 10 level.
Mm.
And those are the things that we would go out and do. And what do you think would happen?
They become greens.
Well, not only did they become greens,
Mm-hmm.
lots of stuff became greens. A lot of red became yellow, and a lot of yellow became green. And we focused on 3 things, okay, because we had like, a short period of time. We focused on 3 things. But the Success Built to Last talks about 5 things. And, even being a passion test facilitator, we get people to focus individually on 5 things. Because 5 things that you love that are going well, and then you put even more energy around it, it builds your confidence, it builds your energy. It's an exhaustion remedy because they're things that you love, So it may be things outside of your job. If you love going to see comedians, Jason, that is something you absolutely want to make sure gets injected in your life, because it fills your energy tank to be able to deal with situations in your work or otherwise that changes your energy. It changes how you're showing up for people. And it absolutely is a confidence builder because it's pulling the power into your court. You're not waiting for anybody to tell you, here's a great opportunity, want to take advantage of it? No, I'm going to go out and create this on my own.
No, it's great. That's good. It's great advice. So, but there's an issue, right? And that is that you've got your 5 things lined up, but you're at work and everybody else has an agenda and you're busy. So how do you stay connected to those things when you're being bombarded left and right from everybody else's things?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key, right? That's the whole thing, is staying focused on what fills your energy tank. So that leads us also nicely to the second thing you can do. The second thing you can do to, just do what brings meaning into your life and fill up your energy tank. And that is to make a decision to stay committed and focused on experiencing what gives you joy. Now, there's another really great story, and there's a great book that so many of us have read. It's just a classic now. It's Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right?
Sure.
So many of us are familiar with that story.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, he tells a story. He does a demonstration. He talks about a demonstration where he has a big fish tank. So imagine a huge fish tank. And in that fish tank, he fills it. Imagine it being filled with 5 huge rocks that are so big that they come up to the top of the tank, right?
Right.
And then he asked people, how many people think the tank is full, right? Pretty full. Right?
Yeah.
Some really
cool.
big things
See
in there
some
all the
air
way
in
to
there.
the top. Yep, there's some air.
Mm-hmm.
So then he takes out a bag of pebbles, and the pebbles he pours in, and they fill in all around the big rocks, all the way to the top. And then he says, now who thinks the tank is full?
Right.
Yeah, so you can imagine that would be, you're not seeing air anymore in there. That's a full tank.
Yes.
But then he takes out a bag of sand and he pours the sand in, and the sand fits in around the pebbles and the rocks.
Right.
And then he says, now who thinks the tank is full? And now pretty much everybody's like, enough, right? It's full. But then he takes water and he pours water over the whole thing. So the whole point of the demonstration is that there's always room for other stuff. The truth is there is, no matter how much we may feel like there's not. But the trick is to operate like those big rocks in the tank. And those 5 big rocks are the things that everything else needs to fill in around. So you would never do something, you would never take out a big rock to let more water in the tank. That's not the way to be able to fulfill, right? There's always room for something else as long as those 5 rocks are stabilizing the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when you're just filling it up with, when you got a tank full of pebble sand and water, it doesn't feel like there's anything of sustenance in there. I mean, it's everybody else's agenda, those pebble sand and water. The rocks are your agenda, and it's the things that fulfill you. So, I always tell people that when you can choose in favor of your rocks and let everything else fill in around it, that is very powerful for not only building your own sense of personal power, but for reducing your cynicism.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to tell people a story, because when you can reduce your cynicism, people are going to read your no or no thank you or I'm not interested in a very different way when you practice this. So a really good example of this is that there was a time in my life when, like so many of us, it came where I had to deal with aging parent issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the youngest of 5. And at this time, things were really nutty. My mother had, she was in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's, and we had to put her into a home, and then we had to figure out where my dad was going to go, who was old, but perfectly of sound mind and body, right? And when this turmoil was going on, my siblings, we weren't exactly, all seeing eye to eye. It wasn't a great situation. And there's huge age gaps between me and my siblings. And my oldest sibling is 16 years older than me. Her kids are grown and married. And I have this 2-year-old daughter, I've got little kids. I've got real little ones. And my father would typically call and ask me, because I was home with, starting my business. I had left corporate at this time. And even though I was working every day and my daughter was in daycare, one of my top things that fulfilled me was giving individual time to my children. I always made sure every week that I had time just with my 2-year-old daughter and just with my 7-year-old son. And Friday happened to be the days that I spent with my 2-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And my father would call and he would say to me, I need you to take me to the doctor. He already made the appointment, right? My dad's on it. And I would say, well, Dad, when's the appointment? And he would say, it's Friday. And now my father, being older and set in his ways, was not always welcoming of a 2-year-old toddler being there at his doctor's appointments, which I understand. So I would say to him, listen, Dad, Friday is my day that I spend with Grace, my daughter. So if you can't change the appointment and you can't get anybody else to help you, I'll take you, but Grace is going to have to come with us. And if you can't, if that doesn't work for whatever reason or whatever kind of appointment it is, then I will find another sibling that can take you, or I'll change the appointment for you. Would that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes my father would say, I don't want Grace to come. And I would say, I understand. So I would reach out to my siblings, who we weren't all exactly in each other's corner at that time. And I would just say to them, look, here's the deal. Dad's got an appointment. It's on Friday. He can't change it. I'm happy to take him, but Grace has to come with us. And that's just not going to work for him. So is there a way that you could take him, or that you think you could talk to him to be more flexible about changing his appointment? And the 4 siblings, who were not warm and fuzzy, would rally around me and my father, and we would find a way to make it happen without turmoil, without argument, without stress. Now, if I didn't have the clarity about how important spending this time with my kids were and how much that fills me up was to me, I probably would have answered him like, Dad, how many times have I told you Fridays aren't a good day for me? Why can't you call this one? Why can't you call that one? Why
Right.
Yeah. Or I would certainly pick up that phone and immediately attack siblings with, they're not going to, they're not going to want to change your schedule or whatever. It changes your energy and changes how people see you walking down the hall. So I didn't say no. I just simply said an answer that came from a place of, hey, I love you and I love me too.
Right.
And we got to find a way to make your needs be met as pebble, sand, or water.
It's a powerful stance to take.
Right. It absolutely connects you with that sense of personal power.
It seems to me like having that sort of level-headedness in a work setting would also be very helpful in advancing your career in a work setting as well, because people read the confidence, where you're going, and by projecting that and conveying that, you're essentially saying, I can take on more responsibility. without saying it.
Right. I mean, you're calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the presidential debates. I'm not advocating either candidate. But Hillary does
You
come
don't go
across
there.
a little more
We're
calm,
going to lose half our participants.
a little more calm, cool, and collected than Trump does. You know, it does.
Yeah.
It does make you read that. You read that energy. You know, of how somebody is coming across, how confidently they're coming across. About what they're conveying and what they're saying and what they're asking and what they share that they're willing to do, can do. You know, it really makes a huge difference. So it's about staying decided and committed to choosing in favor of your 5 things, and everything else around you is just pebble, sand, or water.
Right.
You know, it can all fit in. There's always room. There's always room. There's always a way to make it work. As pebbles, sand, or water, you know?
It's a great analogy. So when
third, you want to share something else? I don't want to chip people out of the third.
Oh, okay.
You want to say something first?
Okay. No. I was going to ask you a question, but finish because it'll probably get us off track.
Okay. So really quick, I'll do this and then I don't want to miss your question. So third is to take advantage of unexpected opportunities to experience your 5 things without regard for how. How is a big, big, big thing. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, in corporate America values how. How just gets the gold medal of, ooh, yummy.
How to.
How to. And what is kind of like the bronze medal. You know, like, what are we going to accomplish? But then let's spend oodles of time on how. And if we don't accomplish the what according to the how, then we question your credibility. We question if you really are the person who can do what they say they do. And this is just natural, especially in public companies, because analysts want to know how. And they want to know how you're going to do something, and they want to know what your market price is going to be, you know, per share on the stock market after this, and don't be off by 1 penny. You know, so the how is huge. But when it comes to your personal life, you could be a little more kinder and gentler on yourself. You're not a publicly traded company, okay? So you want to spend a lot of time on what and a little bit of time on how, just enough how to get your ideas going. So if your what is to, you know what, comedy is it for me, man. It's one of the things. I really want to see a lot of comedians. You don't have to sit there and come up with a 3-page business plan about how you're going to get more comedian time in your life. You just have to come up with maybe 1 or 2 quick things that seem really doable to you at the time. I call this doing things where you can see 50 feet ahead of you. It's like headlights on a car. Headlights on a car will let you see about 50 feet ahead of you.
Yeah, and the what? I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to say something here, and that is that the what is not always easy to tell. And when you say what is going to satisfy me, actually coming up with the answer to that question is not always readily apparent. And I was really happy with and appreciative that you took me through the passion test, which I think we're going to end up talking about later, but that really is designed to help you get to what it is that you're passionate about and will make you happy. And I've never quite seen such a useful methodology to get to that so quickly. And the comedy club, actually, which Gina and I have kind of been going back and forth on, is actually related to the first one of my passions, which was to smile and to laugh a lot. And it's a very simple kind of thing. And we came up with a number of other ones, but the methodology that Gina was using was extremely useful in terms of actually being able to boil that down, because when it comes down to it, we get a lot of questions about, well, what's your vision? What's your vision for your life? What are you passionate about? And people will ask that question in a very offhand way, as though it's something that you're carrying around with you in your side pocket and you're just ready to talk about it any moment, when in fact, I think a lot of us, when we get asked that question, can be a little bit of a struggle. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in there just because it really can be a little tricky to get to your what. And even though I have this book somewhere? Start with Why, Simon Sinek. You've probably seen that one, right? Maybe it should be Start with What.
Start with what? Exactly. Start with what?
With what? Okay.
Well, certainly, like I said, in filling your energy tank, to deal with the things. All of my clients that I coach, whether they come to me because look, I'm already convinced I need to find a career path or I need a new career path. And this is where we start. We start with what is going to fill you up, because you are not going to see anything clearly in your life if you can't understand, you can't see a sustainable source of energy coming in for all the junk you have to do. I don't care if it's laundry, balancing your checkbook, dealing with the boss who's just a real pain in the patoots every day, and a job full of tasks that you think are beneath you. You have to have something that you see is continually and reliable to fill you up. And that's why doing something like the passion test really puts the power in your control. That's the difference. That's like sovereignty. That's like knowing that it's always going to be there and available to you. And that is going to shift how you think. And it's going to shift what you're able to notice and see as a good match or a good opportunity for you, especially in a job situation. So earlier in this webinar, I said, everywhere you go, there you are.
Yeah.
If you don't get in touch with this, you're just going to keep putting yourself in repeat pattern situations. Same boss, different face, different gender, different suit size, different whatever. You know what I mean? It's always going to keep showing up. So the first line of defense is really about getting in touch with these things that fulfill you. And then secondly, making decisions to always choose in favor of them, and everything else is pebble, sand, and water. And then the third thing, let me share the third thing, is to take advantage of unexpected opportunities to experience what brings you joy without regard for how, right? So when people feel like that sense of powerlessness, what I find in my coaching practice is that they're really committed to that how. They're committed to how the new job has to show up, how the promotion has to play out, how the bonus has to look. They're committed to a lot of how stuff in their life. And they may have some of the what down, but they're married to the how. They're married to how that's all going to play out. And all that's doing is weakening your muscle for recognizing opportunities. They say the best, most successful people and entrepreneurs, they're opportunity recognizing magnets. They just know if something feels like a good match for what they have already decided they want to have going on in their life. They know what, but they may not know all the how about how it's going to play out. So a quick story that I'll share with you is that one of my other, when I did the passion test years and years ago, one of the things that I had there on my list was that I wanted to write a book. And I wanted the book to be, I didn't want to write it alone. I've written a lot of things alone on my own, but I really wanted to do this in collaboration with some other transformational thinking and human potential gurus. Now, at that time, I did not know, I had no connections. I knew who some of those people were because I followed them and I read their stuff, but I had no connections to those people, and I didn't know anybody who knew anybody. You talk about networking to any of those people.
Right.
Okay. But I made this decision that I was going to write a book, but I was not going to write it outside of being connected to these people. So I just decided my little bit of how was, I'm just going to keep reading about different human potential experts. I'm just going to, expand my network from who I know to who else is out there that I don't know, so I can get really clear about other people. And that's what I did. And then one night before I go to bed, I have this horrible habit of, gotta check the email one more time, lights out, cozy in bed, gotta warm up to that email on your iPhone. And I checked my email, and there was a message in my inbox from Janet and Chris Atwood, who are the co-authors of the Passion Test. And they said, hey, we're thinking about mentoring people who may have a transformational thinking book in them. We don't know exactly what that looks like. And we're not exactly sure we're going to go ahead with this program, but we're thinking if we are going to do it, maybe 12 people. Oh, and by the way, our schedule and speaking, experience calendar is full for the year. So this is going to happen in 2 weeks. And it's going to happen in San Diego, California.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that time, my daughter was really little. I think she was about 2 at the time, maybe 3. And, we
And just to
celebrate.
clarify, you're here in New Jersey with me.
Yes.
We're talking about across
Yes.
the country.
Yes.
Okay.
My husband just started a new job, so
Mhm.
taking time off was not really an option or appropriate. And it was also going to fall on Easter weekend, and we celebrate Easter. Now, I needed to be home, helping the Easter bunny, right?
Right.
So I just thought, you know what? I don't have the time for this. I don't have the money to just go drop on some airfare to San Diego, 4 days in a hotel. But I got out of my head and said, the truth is, in my heart, this is something that really fulfills me. So I'm just going to answer it. I'm going to fill out the application, which took me 25 minutes to do from my phone. And I filled out an application of, this might be something for me. Well, 3 days later, I get a call from their assistant saying, we really liked your application. We'd like to talk to you. And I just thought, oh my gosh, really? So now Janet and Chris Atwood, if you're not familiar with them, they're huge in the human potential. They've cultivated a lot of people like T. Harv Eckert, and they're highly connected with Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup for the Soul fame, and Eckhart Tolle and Marcy Shimoff, and some really, really big people, right? And I just thought they're going to get a huge response. So when they asked me to do an interview, I just thought, well, the next step is just scheduling an interview, right? Jason, you and I, we're in the interviewing business. You don't get every interview, right? You just go on the interview. Never turn down an interview, I tell everybody. So I said yes. And a day or two later, we had that call. And on the spot, they offered me the number 11 out of 12 seats to go. And I thought, oh boy, like now how am I going to explain my latest Lucy and Ethel scheme to my husband? So I went to him and I just said, look, here's what happened. And here's why I kept saying yes all along the way. Do you think there's any way that we can make this work? And my energy was very different. I didn't come at my husband with, he's going to kill me. He's going to say no. It was possible, but
anything you just.
I'm still married though. So.
Yes.
Well, so you know how it ends.
Right.
But needless to say, I think it was like 9 days later there I was in San Diego, and that turned into a 6-month mentoring relationship with Janet and Chris and Marcy Shimoff. So they were my personal mentors. And that just has to do with letting go of the how. I had no idea, zero idea how this was going to happen. And this is always saying, you don't have the time, you don't have the money at the very least, right? So it's just deciding what matters to you, making a commitment to give it to yourself, letting go of the how, opening yourself up. I'm on the hook for what I want and for saying yes to opportunities that bring me closer to it. It's just an intention, attention, no tension way of life. And that dramatically shifts your energy, and it shifts how you view things like your job. It shifts how other people view you. Like if they view you to be more on that curmudgeon side of the scale than that happy, energized, empowering side of the scale. So it's really the first step, because it brings you that clarity to be able to make clear decisions like, look, do I have a bigger problem going on? Is it me? Or is the next job move, has the time come, and it's going to shift and change how you see opportunities big time.
Mm-hmm. So presumably, since people, the people that have signed up for this are figuring, at least if they're not happy at work, then at least there's something that's going on with them that's saying, hey, here's something about being happy at work. Maybe I ought to take a look at this and see if there's something that I can do to increase my happiness. Mm-hmm. So as we sort of wrap up the content section of this, what kind of advice would you give them about what to do next? What should they walk away from this session with that they can now practically implement in their lives quickly?
So the first thing I would say, if all you can connect to is one thing that really brings you joy and happiness, make sure that it's in your life on a regular basis. One of my things that has nothing to do with work, I've got a lot of things that are related to work, but one thing that I have that really fills me up that has nothing to do with work is I love hanging out with my friends and going boutique shopping, right? Sometimes I buy things, sometimes I don't, but it's just about being with my friends, looking at beautiful things, being in beautiful places, having lunch, enjoying a great glass of wine, that shifts my energy so much. And when I have that going on in my life, my clarity for, managing the kids and writing my next piece of content or my next blog post and delivering my workshops, coaching clients, dealing with my family, whatever it is, it's completely shifted. It's just, I am a very different individual for those people and those events. When I have something as simple as hanging out with my girls, doing some boutique shopping and having some great lunch, it just completely shifts me. So if there's one thing you can do that. And, I would tell you that that's what you should be talking to people about. It's not just, Monday morning, hey, how was your weekend? Whatever. It's just like, hey, how was your weekend? Mine was great. Can I tell you what I did with my friends? I'm really into boutique shopping. We found this great new boutique, and here's where we went for lunch, and I had this great glass of wine. I mean, that's a very different conversation than how was your weekend? Oh, I paid the bills and I did laundry. You know what? I did that too. But I ain't going to talk about that.
Right.
But it opens up, because what you're going to find are that people around you, especially if you enjoy working with them, the truth is you probably share more interests outside of your job than you know. And that's one of the ways that I connect people with career paths, is we really do a deep dive into what their interests are, because your interests can really connect you not only with career paths and work environments and jobs, but with the kinds of people who share your interests. So for example, like one of my big interest area has to do with the things involving the arts and performing arts. Attorneys also, by nature, not by nature of their work, but by nature of who people are as individuals who are attorneys, study after study shows that some of their personal interest has to do with things related to the arts. And when I think back in my career doing employee relations, I got along with attorneys a lot, all the time. And when I think back on it, it's like, you know what, we did have a lot of common interests, the things we like to do, the things that we found interesting, and who you're working with, what you guys like to do outside of work. If you really enjoy working with that person, there's probably, if I were a gambling woman, there's probably a higher chance that you share common interests outside of work than you think. And that gives you relatedness with people. And when you relate with people, people want to help you, no matter what you have going on. These are the people that you share hobbies and interests with. These are the people that you want to tell them about, I'm looking for new job opportunities. I'm looking for people connected in a different industry than I currently work in. Who do you know that you might be interested or willing to introduce me to? That's really a powerful way to connect with people.
Yeah, and one of the things that I recommend to people when they're networking as a kind of tip or basic way to view networking is to view it as getting to the next person more than it is to asking the person that you're speaking with for something, right? So you hear, if you're looking for a job, I call you, Gina, are you looking to hire somebody, or is somebody in your company looking to hire somebody? That's one way to go about it. Another is, I have something to offer you, right? Which is a nice thing to do and something to think about each time you get in touch with somebody. But there's another way that you can kind of take the pressure off an exchange between you and me, and that is to say, is there anybody that you know that can do X or that has Y or whatever it happens to be? So.
Yeah, people love to be with people who share their interests. That's the bottom line. And in all my years of recruiting, especially even when I was a head of human resources, the person that gets the job are the people who convey a sense of themselves on the interview, not only from a work perspective, here's who I am and here's what you can count on me for and here are my credentials and on and on and on, but they convey a sense of who they are as an individual, that they're a person who they're connected with what they like, and they engage in what they like, and they invite joy and happiness into their life. Because at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, the interview is all about, do I want to hang around this person 40 hours a week at least? We all know
Right.
it's going to be more.
Right. Right. Right.
I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but, unless there's some really specialized skill set that's hot on the market, it's really going to come down to that people.
Kind of culture. It's a big, big, big piece of it. There's
And
no.
we love to be around people who share our interests,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people who we get a sense that they invite joy and happiness into their life.
So then, what this all comes back to is, in order to be happy at work, be happy with yourself, be happy with your life.
With yourself.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
First
then
and foremost.
yeah.
And the rest will fall in line.
That expresses itself in lots of different ways.
It exponentially rolls out into other areas of life, just like those employee opinion scores that I talked about when I worked in financial services.
But the nice thing here about what I have gotten out of the session is not just something as simple as be happy, right? Because that doesn't, be happy, that's good, but you can't really walk away with that. But it's right. There were a number of different things that you went through, but one simple, powerful thing is to identify something that you enjoy doing on a regular basis and do that. Mm-hmm. Do that more if you can, but at least make sure that you do that thing.
Yeah.
So that's really, I think it's very helpful. I'd like to make sure that we fulfill our promises here. Do you have anything else that you wanted to say to wrap up, or?
I'll just give everybody a really fun interview question. If you are out there on the job market and you're interviewing, you always get that point of the interview where you get to, is there anything else you want to ask, or is there anything else you want us to know about you? And one of my favorite things is, first and foremost, always keep in mind that they're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them, right? But what a fun thing to ask that person, especially if they're going to be a coworker or a boss or something, is, if you weren't at work today and you could be doing something you truly enjoy, what would you be doing? It's just your last ditch effort to really find out, who is this individual, and can we have a point of relatedness between us on some level? And everyone loves to talk about what they want to do outside of work. So
yeah, no doubt. So I'm going to say that again and slowly so that people can write it down if they want to. And the interview question from the point of view of the interviewee, so from the point of view of the candidate is, if you weren't at work today, now this is asking the interviewer, if you weren't at work today and you could be doing something you truly enjoy, what would you be doing? Now you're assessing that individual and whether you think that this is going to be a good fit for you as a place that you want to work. It also will give you a lot of information then to go on about how to impress that person a little bit as well.
Yeah. It's also something to say on that awkward walk from the conference room back to the reception area or the elevator,
Yes.
Candidates are always so quiet. And I always think, why are you so quiet? This is valuable interviewing time. You don't take advantage of it.
Right.
Just lay that one out there.
All right. Okay, great. Terrific. Thank you. Let's get to some of the things that we've got to offer here, because I think people are going to really dig this. And of course, they're going to have access to you. But just to start with, I mentioned that you would have a coupon code for courses online. These are Udemy courses, and you can find them at udemy.com. These are each an hour or 2 hour courses. They're highly rated, 4.5 stars, 5-star kind of courses, and they're on networking, building a profile, and LinkedIn tips and tricks. And the way that you get to them is go to udemy.com and search for me. And this is the code that you're going to want to use, Basics25. And what that's going to do is it's going to knock the price down by, I think in one case it's 40%, but it's at least 25%. So make a note of that, Basics25, and that'll give you a nice discount on those courses. Now, with me, and I know I haven't spoken that much in this in this webinar, but as you guessed, or as you gathered, I think from introduction, the focus that I have is not only on executive recruiting, but it's on helping people with networking and with LinkedIn. So if you're interested in a free strategy session with me, the first 5 people, and you're going to have my email address at the bottom of this. So at the end of the session, just wait until we get through the raffle at least to send me an email. But the first 5 participants are going to get a strategy session for 20 minutes We're going to go over 2 topics in the course of this. One of them is going to be to just take a quick look at your profile, at your LinkedIn profile, give you some tips and ideas about what you might be able to do to change them. Almost everybody has at least something that they can improve. And then we're going to talk a bit about your networking activity and how you can improve that as well, and just make sure that both of these align with your goals. That is my email address. You're going to see it again at the end, so if you miss it now, don't worry about it. It's jason@linkedcoach.us, jason@linkedcoach.us. And the other thing, and I'm going to let Gina, did I hear a drum roll? I'm not sure if I thought I heard a drum roll. Gina's going to tell you about her career success, or CSI Career Success Insight session. Want to talk about that a little bit, Gina?
Sure. I call it a Career Success Insight session, and a lot of people call it a CSI session. It's a 60-minute live coaching session with me. It's an initial session. And in that session, people get to tell me their career review, their career challenge, whatever is going on for them. People will typically tell me things like, I'm already convinced I need to switch jobs. I'm not sure to what. They'll tell me that they're struggling with their performance in their job. They're just feeling exhausted and disengaged, and they don't know how to get out of that. And they need to keep their job, and they don't want to come across that way. People will tell me they're getting back into the job market, and they're not sure what to go back into. So there's all different challenges that people face. Another huge one is they're struggling with going back for their master's degree or PhD or something. So they're looking for some kind of help and assistance to go into that inquiry a little bit deeper about what should my next move be? What should I do? And the other thing I do in that session is I go through a really easy to do, even fun, very step-by-step exercise with people where they can connect to what I call it helps you connect to what your true work is. And your work is all about how you really want to impact people, what you want to impact people and do for them, and what you want to be valued for ultimately in return. And in this exercise, we get to a statement that really expresses, look, at the end of the day, this is what I can be relied upon for. This is what I want to be valued for. This is how I want to impact people. And that content, people take it, they use it on their social media profiles, the summary of their resume. I tell them how they can use it to ask interview questions to make sure that they would be a good fit with the culture of the place that they're interviewing, and to really just convey a sense of yourself. And this statement has 3 secret formulas that need to be in any answer when somebody says, tell me something about yourself. And it can really give you an edge over other candidates, especially people that have more experience than you, which is very important, especially if you're changing. So that session I offer people, it's an introductory rate of $47. And I'll tell you about other coaching services if I think that I'm a good match with what you have going on. And I'll offset that $47 if you buy additional sessions with me. Ooh, look how high tech you are. You can write it in there.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I love it.
That's my German 7. All right, good.
And it's easy. You just contact me if you're interested in setting that up. You just send me an email, gina@indigoforce.com.
All right, terrific. And now we can definitely have the drum roll, and that is for the drawing. And what I did here, just so that you guys are aware that this is fair, I went to this random.org/integers, hit the button, and the person who... Did you do that?
Angels bells.
Wow, that's amazing. The person that won is Robin Katchen. So Robin, if you're hearing this, hopefully you are, just send me an email. And that is my email address, jason@linkedcoach.us. So Robin Katchen, send me an email. If you tell me which course you want, that would be really helpful. And then I'll make sure that you get the coupon for the course that you want most on Udemy. If you didn't see that earlier, then just let me know and I'll send you the information. I'm going to send out a recording link. That's not going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow. It will be on Thursday, so look for that if you're interested in listening to this or a part of it again. Then you'll have that in a couple of days. And then, of course, there's a free networking session $47 is for Gina's. Mine is actually free, but it's only for the first 5 people that sign up, and this is where you'll want to send an email. The first 5 people, I will make sure that you get some time with me to talk through your LinkedIn strategy. We already got the winner, Robin Katchen. We're running out of time here pretty quickly, and I don't see any questions, so that may actually be a good thing for us today. Yeah, we're actually at 3:01, so no questions, which is good considering the time. Thank you everybody for coming and showing up for the webinar today, and of course, especially thank you Gina Calvano for participating, for enlightening us with all the information, and for giving us something to go home with, to be happy with ourselves and to be happy at work. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care, Gina. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's see. You still there?
I'm here.
All right. I think I just need to end the meeting altogether. We can talk later.